Hi. Today we're going to start off talking about suffering and pain and how to avoid it, particularly in the context of long, over-detailed, slide-heavy presentations, because God knows you've had to sit through enough of them. Well, first of all, how to avoid the pain for yourself if you're having to listen to them. Real easy. Get a set of these, or the non-Apple equivalent if you're not an iPhone holder. Stick them in and listen to something while the garbage just rolls over you from the stage. Because they're nice and discreet, the speaker probably won't see you wearing them. But quite seriously, if you are in a position because you've been told to fly in from somewhere to some unsuspecting group and dump a whole load of stuff on them for an hour, we've got a few tips here that might make it a little less painful for them and easier for you to keep their attention.
Yes, it's more about what your audience can take
Yeah.
rather than what you've got to give. Think about your audience first.
Definitely. And as part of thinking about your audience, definitely, number one thing, what is your aim? What do you want your audience to think, do, or feel differently as a result of you talking to them? And also first of all, get that together first, then create your talk and your content first, and last of all, create the slides. And if you can have some say in designing and creating those slides, it's much better. It may take a bit longer, but if you've had a hand in designing them, it's much easier to speak from because you have a sense of ownership. It's damn difficult to talk from somebody else's turgid deck that they've landed on you and say, talk about that. But also, Helen's got a little tip about slides too.
I have. Once you've finished creating your slides, or once you've been given your slides, don't just look at it on a small computer screen, on your MacBook, on your laptop, or even on a phone. Actually have them projected and go to the back of a room and look at them there and see, can you read everything on that slide? If you can't, change it.
Yeah, definitely. So that's tip number one. Tip number two is it needs to be high energy. You may think the content is fabulous. The audience probably don't. And you need to be enthused and high energy all the way through it. Because if you're even vaguely bored of any of it, it's going to leak. And they're going to get bored too. And if there are parts in the talk where you're not engaged yourself, or you don't believe in, or you don't like, either speak them very briefly indeed, or don't talk about them at all. Or
Get somebody else to do
it. Because it'll leak. Know this now. So keep it high energy. And the second thing, really,
Third,
is to do lots of this.
not staring at a
Pausing.
camera.
Pausing. Most people never do enough of this in any talk. But particularly if it's a long and highly detailed technical talk,
Yes.
you need to leave plenty of time for your audience to go, okay, that makes sense. Not quite sure about that. Link it to what they know already. Next. And however intelligent or highly educated your audience, there's only so much the human brain, or the human buttocks, can take at any one time. So lots and lots of pauses.
Yes.
So that's the third tip. Now you've all heard the expression, a picture's worth 1,000 words. This leads us on to the fourth tip.
And the fourth one is using imagery, using pictures. Now, if you consider for a moment the Chancellor delivering the budget, he will stand there and he will talk for an hour, possibly two. And how much of it do you actually take in? Pretty much nothing. What happens is after the budget, after he's delivered it, packs of the budget are sent out and journalists scurry around and accountants scurry around, all to bring you the highlights and what it means for you.
Yes.
Contrast that with somebody like Brian Cox.
Or David Attenborough.
Or David Attenborough. I'm going to go with Brian Cox for now.
Okay.
Who can stand stand and talk about the enormity of the universe and the size and the weight and the distance of planets. But he can do it all
Yes.
in a really engaging way.
Yes.
Because he uses not only images behind him, but he uses images in his language. He uses comparisons to real things that we can relate to.
A very important point Helen made there at the end, because you may say, well, Brian Cox has got millions of pounds in the BBC to go filming around the world and make incredible visual images and graphics and things. Yes, he does.
Yeah, wouldn't we all like that?
But he also stands by a log cabin in Lapland or something, looking at the camera, describing these things, using visual images,
Yes.
imagery in his speech. And it's really, really important that you do that. Because if you think about it, most business communication is deadly dull. Why? Because it very rarely uses any sensory-specific language.
Yes.
And by that we mean there's no touching, feeling, hearing, smelling, tasting words in most business communication. It's all just anodyne, really.
Yeah.
There's nothing, it's not human.
Yes.
So above all, you need to make this talk human and come alive. Not pretend anything, but you've got to put in the hard work to make it human and acceptable and easy to understand for your audience.
Yes.
And that leads on to the fifth point, which is one of the things that's going to make it really easy or easier for the audience to retain it are frequent summaries. If you're talking for 40 minutes or an hour, I mean, it's not going to stick. But if you frequently throughout your talk summarize what you've talked about so far before moving on to the next part, that will aid their retention. There's also another good thing to do, and very few people do this.
Along with the summaries, have frequent breaks. Just because you have to talk for an hour does not mean you need to talk for the full hour.
Yeah,
And if you have frequent short breaks,
2 minutes or something.
yeah, it means that your audience can retain things. Now, the way to do it is to say to them, okay, stand up and stretch. Invite them to stand up and stretch, or sit and stretch, or even turn to your neighbour and tell them your key takeaway from the last section, the last point that you have given them.
And get them to share theirs, because you'll both have different recollections of it. You'll both remember different things.
And that summarising things is another way that helps your audience get things embedded in their head.
And don't just spring this on them, although it could be fun to try.
Could be.
As part of your introduction, tell them you're
Yes.
going to be giving them regular breaks about every quarter of an hour, 20 minutes or so.
But not sending them out the room.
No, keep it, you'll never get them back. Tell them you're going to be doing this so they know it's coming.
They'll love you for it.
And then towards the end of that little 2-minute break, just signal to them from the stage, okay, 30 seconds more or 15 seconds more, just wrap up what you're saying and come back.
Yes.
And then you can start again. So you're gently leading them back in again.
Yep. So, in summary,
Yep.
there are
5 points.
5 points. Number 1.
Design the talk first and do your slides last of all.
Exactly. Number 2.
Keep it high energy.
Number 3.
Lots of pauses.
Number 4. Imagery
Yes.
and pictures. And number 5.
Summarize regularly and give little breaks.
That's it.
Hope you found it useful. See you on the next one.
Yes.